that time again. It's after work. I forget what day it is, but it's about noon time. And had a pretty short day. Only had a couple of visits to do. I don't mind that. Got to follow up with somebody who had evacuated from the storm into a hospital, and now they were back home. Did a really good respiratory assessment, called the doctor, got some antibiotics. And I really like talking to pulmonologists on the phone. I haven't talked to that many pulmonologists on the phone, but they seem to be like really focused and goal-oriented, and like they know it's like they just ask me questions and they're like, oh, okay, well, let's do this, you know. Very decisive. I like very decisive doctors. It's nice. And did another nursing home visit, and that was fun. And the nursing supervisor who was on is also works in like state public health too. So she was really interesting to talk to. She was telling me about this flu symposium or something that she was going to. I might have to check that out. That could be pretty interesting. And we were kind of geeking out over recent developments in cancer therapies and antiviral therapies and stuff. And she knew a lot about wound care too, so it was interesting to chat. I always feel bad when I'm like sitting around chatting because I'm on the clock, but you know, sometimes I'm going through charts and I'm asking nurses for other info, and I have to kind of connect with them a little bit. You know, I have to, you know, kind of talk to them and shoot the shit and kind of show them that I am actually interested and I'm not just there like, you know, to breeze in and breeze out, not really do anything. But it's tough because a lot of the times my suggestions are for very simple things, and the nurses that I'm giving these suggestions to are often kind of put off by the simplicity of my suggestions, you know? Like this guy's got dry eyeballs. How about some eye drops, you know? And it sounds so simple. And I try to say it in, in as least condescending way as possible. Or like oral care. It's like, oh, of course, no, they're getting oral care. But their tongue is dry because you've been giving them anticholinergic medications. You know, it's like, it's tough to find political ways to do all of that, but so sometimes just the hanging out and shooting the breeze and stuff and being friendly is actually a necessary part of my duties as a, on-again, off-again consultant. So, against my better judgment, I took on kind of a private duty case management kind of thing, and it's for a friend of mine who is one of my mentors when I was going through school. I was trying to organize some home health aides and take some of the pressure off of a family caregiver, and I was promised a pretty good chunk of change to do it. And as soon as I walked in, total disaster, right? I mean, we're talking police, and I hate dealing with the police, let me tell you. But we're talking like police, emotional family members, mental illness, and catastrophe, and just like total bullshit, like all over the place. And I had no idea that that's what I was walking into, because I'd been sold a pretty good picture of what I've been doing. The patient is great, of course. The patient is lovely. One of my favorite people, just a joy to talk to. And ironically, that patient, or that friend of mine, is like the calm little center of sanity in the middle of all of this insanity. And a lot of the time, I just wish like people would just listen to her more often, because she knows what she's talking about. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. That's kind of a work in progress. I'm still trying to cobble together a home health aide schedule by recruiting some of my favorite home health aides. But that's like kind of a little risk on my part too, because these people are my friends, and if I'm trying to hook them up with this private duty job, I want it to go well for them. I want it to be, like a nice, easy home care assignment where they don't have to put up with a lot of extra bullshit. And it's kind of taken on a couple of new dimensions just in the first like 24 hours or so. So I'm gonna have to play phone tag with a couple of people and try to arrange and organize some things. The actual like my part of doing it, of like getting all the info and assessing the person and making sure all the equipment and the supplies are available. I mean, that stuff is all very easy. After doing like home care with a hospice agency for a year, I kind of know what I'm looking for. What kind of, and just from my training, I know what kind of comorbidities and what kind of like physical issues I expect to show up. Because this is, for example, this is somebody who's relatively immobile, alert and oriented, and recently got a leg fracture and is waiting for an orthopedics consult. And recurrent pneumonias and some things to look out for, muscle spasms related to immobility and stuff. And it was, for a little while, like when I walked in and first started doing it, and scoping the thing out and looking at my friend, not as a friend but as a patient, I was really proud of how I was able to still really pull everything together, and really kind of make sense of everything, and like looking at things that I'd like kind of just noticed in passing just from hanging out with my friends, but now I was looking at it with a more professional eye, with more to an eye of like being responsible for some of those things. And it was a really interesting exercise, and I think I did it really well in a way that was very comfortable and familiar, and one of those things where I was really glad that I had the opportunity to do it, because I think I might maybe would have done it better than somebody who was just kind of walking in cold and didn't know her very well. It was like starting over from scratch, So I guess we'll see how that goes. I mean, I was really hoping to, supplement my income a little bit for school, because this first nursing class was way more expensive than I thought it was going to be. It was like $4,700 for an 8-week accelerated class. And now I've got this stupid Western Civ class that I got a late start on because of the storm. I didn't lose power or anything, but it kind of disrupted everybody's schedules. I have to ask for an extension for the homework for today. But, this looks like it's going to be so awful. Like, write 250 words about how the culture of China was different from the culture of Egypt and Mesopotamia. I'm like, really? Really, guys? Come on. Another Fluff 100s level class with 250 to 500 word writing assignments. Like, this is an accelerated class, so you're going to need to study like 10 or 15 hours a week. Fuck that. I read the whole textbook cover to cover in the week between when the class started and I received the book, which was way overpriced for what I got. It was like $130 maybe, and not as long as most of the novels that I read, so that's pretty disappointing. Huh. It looks like they turned my old daycare into a residence. That's interesting. Let's scope that out. So I was going to go take pictures of the nature trail behind my elementary school after I took a bunch of pictures of just the decaying building itself. But I got held up by the admission, and I had to drive far away to pick up my notebook that I left at a patient's house and all this other stuff. So I texted my friend back to tell him I wouldn't be able to make it, and he said, "Oh, that's okay. There's like 20 canine units doing field training for the canine, police officers or whatever." I'm like, "Oh, well, it's a good thing you're not sneaking around in the woods then. That's perfect." But part of the reason I was hoping to supplement my income besides the school bills was I'd like to be able to buy a laptop and pay for school. I have like a little netbook right now that's great for work, but some other stuff that I'd like to be able to do mobile. My last high-end laptop died of thermal failure twice a couple of years ago, so I'm stuck with a little netbook for now. It's nice to have more computing horsepower, more CPUs when I'm mobile, when I'm out on the road. You never know what you're going to have to do. I saw a new laptop that Asus is putting out soon that comes with like 12 gigs of RAM and stuff, and it's a lot cheaper than the fancy Alienware and Razer notebooks that I was considering before. The Asus one seems to have the same specs under the hood, but none of the fancy lighting effects or designer kind of features or anything. And when it comes down to it, I don't really care about that stuff too much. So there might be some exciting news about my current job that I'm doing right now that I can't really share yet, because some decisions have to be made elsewhere in the agency. But it might lead to me working more often, which I'm pretty excited about. And I'll tell you more about that if that actually pans out. They're supposed to let me know. Ooh, this guy wants me to stop. They're supposed to let me know next week sometime. So yeah, it looks like they're fixing a light pole or something like that. They got some guy up on a thing, and So there was a guy wearing a reflective vest who held out his hand to stop me. And then after I stopped, he continued to stand there and hold his hand out at me for quite some time. Wanted to make sure I wasn't going to start moving again. It's nice. Yeah, I'm not sure I like the looks of this. I don't think they're going to let me through. The traffic's starting to stack up a little bit. Yeah, I think I'm just going to turn around. I don't think this is going to work. Sorry, guys. Let's see. Now, let's see how many people turn around after I do. We'll take a look. Got 1, 2, 3 cars. 3 cars are behind me. That's not too bad. It's a lot for a little side street like this, though. Let's see what these people do. No, they're going to stick it out. Huh. I can't really think of anything interesting to talk about, nursing-wise or medical-wise. I've been trying to grab all the shifts that I can and doing lots of admissions. I think that's a really great skill to have to build on, do a lot of admissions. I'm getting a lot of good feedback from people and lots of hugs from my patients and stuff. And I'm really getting the feeling when I leave that everybody's pretty content with the plan. So that's always nice. One nice thing that I can say now that I've been a nurse for 3 years, something that I really did not get a lot of opportunities to practice as a student at all was catheterization. It's just something we're commonly called upon to do. I think I practiced it once, maybe twice on male patients when I was a nursing student, and it was meant as like a treat. It's like, oh, if you finish your charting first, you get to catheterize the patient. And I have some funny stories about that. Maybe I'll share some other time. But one thing I did not get a chance to practice hardly at all was female catheterizations, which can sometimes be a little trickier, depending on what technique you employ. But the first time that I did one on my own with another nurse just standing by and watching was during my nursing home job, and I managed to actually do that really well on the first try, without having to abandon that catheter because I got it contaminated and use another one. I was able to get it on the first shot. And then just recently, as a hospice nurse, about 3 years after I got licensed, without anybody else helping me and just a family member there to chaperone and hold a flashlight, I was able to smoothly catheterize a female on my first try. That was a great confidence booster. It was a damn good thing I did it too, because about a bowling ball's worth of urine just flowed out of her right afterwards. And, that's never good. You never want to see that. Alright. Well, I guess that's it for now. I hope you guys are doing alright, and until next time.